TikTok, time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's watching from all over the world. It's your friendly neighborhood philosopher here, D Wood. Anyway, I woke up a while ago. As some of you know, I stay up at night and sleep during the day. So woke up and saw that there's a peace plan, mind you, for Gaza. Trump and Netanyahu were speaking. Trump and Netanyahu gave a presentation on the peace plan. I have another live stream at 8:30 over on IP's channel. So I thought, okay, well, I'll go ahead and watch and see what this peace plan's about. But then I thought, this was like an hour. This was like a little over an hour ago. And then I was like, well, if I'm going to watch it, I might as well just click live for other people who didn't watch it, and then we can all watch it together. Got that? So Novice here says, where is AP? Who knows where AP is? No, I'll be on the live stream with AP as well at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. That'll be on Inspiring Philosophy's channel. So didn't want to bother AP. We'll be live later on. Just wanted to check this out. And this is probably like I don't know. This will probably be like a new habit. If I'm going to sit here, if I wake up and there's news of something that comes out and I'm about to watch something and I haven't seen it yet, I'll probably just jump online and again, we can watch it. We can all watch it together for anyone who hasn't checked it out. And that way we can, I can get your thoughts as well. David, you have a generic shirt. It is generic. Probably had this for like 15 years. My stuff lasts a long time. What is this? Let's see. Lily says, hopefully it works. Israel should focus on Iran. Yeah, but the main thing I wanted to check it out for is it's Hamas that's usually the obstacle, right? Like I haven't even seen it yet. I don't know what the peace plan is. But just before even looking at it or what the deal entails, I'm predicting that Hamas will be the ones who reject it, because I would guess that any part of any peace plan is going to involve them not being in charge, and they are not going to not want to be in charge. And also, I mean, Hamas's end goal is like taking all of Israel, right? So that's their goal. So no peace plan is going to include that. They've acknowledged in the past that they're willing to take temporary deals, but they're never going to, they say they're never going to renounce their claim to taking all of Israel. And I would guess, that's probably also part of the deal, is like you have to agree that Israel has a right to exist or something like that. Anyway, Israel's main goal since the war started, so there was a terrorist attack, massive, huge, on October 7th, 2023. And if you're Israel in that situation, you have three main goals. You would have three main goals when something like that happens. One, you want to get your hostages back because a bunch of hostages were taken. So one, you want to get your people back. Two, you want to crush and destroy the people who carried out the attack. And three, you want to make sure that that place, that area, never doesn't have the ability to do that again. Because Hamas keeps vowing they're going to do it again and again and again and again and again until they eventually wear Israel down. So, but notice, they don't have their hostages back. Hamas still exists. The people who carried out the attack still exist because a bunch of them just went and hid in tunnels. And Hamas is still in charge, and so they would still have the ability to carry out more attacks in the future. So for everyone who's constantly screaming ceasefire, 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 you what do you mean? Like ceasefire with, what do you mean? Like ceasefire with Hamas still in charge, with an actual massive terrorist organization still in charge? And you have to, for me, it's always about like the takeaway messages for the future. See, like, guys, I totally get it. I totally get it. If you're watching, videos of buildings being leveled and women and you're looking at statistics about women and kids dying and stuff like that and saying, hey, gosh, we got to end this. We just got to end this. I get that. I totally get that. But I'm thinking, like, what was Hamas's strategy? Hamas's strategy, their entire plan was, we're going to go over there, we're going to slaughter a bunch of people, burn people, we're going to do all that stuff, and then we're going to run and hide in tunnels. We're going to ride in tunnels, and Israel's going to come for their hostages. They're going to come to find their hostages and find the people responsible. But we're going to be hiding underground. We're going to be hiding in tunnels, and it's going to be civilians. It's going to be civilians up there. And Israel, by coming for their hostages and looking for the people who are responsible for the attack, this is going to go on for a while. And the world is going to turn against them. People are going to turn against them. There's going to be all kinds of protests on college campuses and stuff. And eventually, Israel will give up. And then what happens? And then we'll just come back up. Then we'll come back up from our tunnels and start planning for the next attack. So that's the plan. And so when I hear, hey, just, ceasefire with Hamas still in charge and stuff like this, like, you're giving them everything they wanted. They didn't care. All the buildings and stuff that are destroyed, all the people, they don't care about any of that. They don't care about the civilians who were killed. They couldn't conceivably care less. These are all pawns in their game. So when you say, hey, ceasefire and let Hamas still be in charge, you're basically saying give them everything they wanted and make sure their plan worked perfectly. Because if these guys are still in charge when all this is over, their plan worked perfectly. They got exactly what they wanted. And it sends a pretty dangerous message for future jihadis. If you want to get your way, or you even want to get a state or something like that, then what you do is go kill and slaughter a bunch of people, take a ton of hostages, go and hide somewhere with all these hostages. Whoever you attacked, they're going to come looking for their hostages and looking for the people responsible for the attack. And all you have to do is stay hidden for a while. Eventually, they'll give up, and then you can come back up and start planning for the next terrorist attack. And it will work 100% of the time. That is a seriously dangerous message to send to the world. And so it's a much, much better message to send to the world if Hamas is just crushed and it ceases to be an organization by the end of this, right? Because that sends a very different message. Hey, if you launch this big terrorist attack, it doesn't matter if you run and hide. You're not getting away. You're not getting away. You're going to be found and you're going to be destroyed. That sends a completely different message, and it's a better message as far as terrorists are concerned. So anyway, that's why Hamas would not want to take a deal that doesn't involve them still being in charge. So, don't know what the plan is. Don't know what the plan is. I'm guessing it would be favorable to pretty much everyone except Hamas, but Hamas has to agree, right? Unless you got enough people to kind of go around Hamas. Unless you want to support other people in the area and stuff like that. But anyway, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work, but we're going to go ahead and check this out. Let's check out these, let's grab these first two super chats, and then we're going to watch. So we're going to watch the speeches that Trump and Netanyahu just gave. Thank you for having washed my head last show. Dr. Wood, I feel much more empowered. Islam will never take over the world. Islam were always losers. No, Islam is very strong and based. About time something moved into at least some kind of direction, though I do fear that even if accepted, it's only a matter of time before more comes. Yeah, that's the problem. But my goodness, wouldn't it be good if somehow agreements were made, hostages were returned, and Hamas is crushed, and then the war's over. Like, yeah, we know there are a bunch of people who are obsessed with attacking Jews, attacking Israel and stuff, but wouldn't it be good to get past this? That would be good. All right, let's go ahead and check this out.
The President of the United States and the Prime Minister of the State of Israel.
I've come up with a plan. It's the best plan. Some people say it's the best plan ever. Like, I ran it by everyone. I ran it by all the experts. They all said, Mr. President, this is the best plan we've ever seen for anything ever.
Thank you very much, everybody. So this is a big, big day, a beautiful day, potentially
The greatest
one
day
of the
ever.
great days ever in civilization.
Yeah, I was just joking, but he always like everything is like always like the best ever. It's funny, and it's exactly how he started. This is funny.
Things that have been going on for hundreds of years and thousands of years. We're going to, at least we're at a minimum very, very close, and I think we're beyond very close. And I want to thank Bibi for really getting in there and doing a job. We've worked well together, as we have with many other countries, both of us, with many other countries, which is the only way this whole situation gets solved.
You guys remember this line? You're going to be tired of winning. That was when he. I think that was when he was about to start running the first time for presidency. He's like, "We're going to just win so much. We're going to win so much. We're going to keep winning. You're going to get sick of winning all the time. You're going to be like, oh, can't we let someone else win just once?" Pretty funny.
And I'm not just talking about Gaza. Gaza is one thing, but we're talking about much beyond Gaza. The whole deal, everything getting solved. It's called peace in the Middle East.
Some people say I should get every Nobel Peace Prize ever. That's what the experts say. I'm no expert on this, although some people consider me an expert on pretty much everything because I am. But yes, I do deserve the Nobel Peace Prize. I think I'll award it to myself.
So today is a historic day for peace, and Prime Minister Netanyahu and I have just concluded an important meeting on many vital issues, including Iran, trade, the expansion of the Abraham Accords, and most importantly, we discussed how to end the war in Gaza, but it's just a part of the bigger picture, which is peace in the Middle East. And let's call it eternal peace in the Middle East.
Eternal peace in the Middle East. That would be awesome. Now, you should definitely get a Nobel Peace Prize for anything that's even close to that. Michael Turner said he stole that from Charlie Sheen, lol. Yeah, did he? Or was it? See, I don't know. I remember Charlie Sheen saying it, but I don't know if he like stole that or if he'd also been doing it for years. Charlie Sheen's the first person I remember doing it. In fact, he was hilarious. He was really quick too. I think he was, doing lots of coke at the time, but he was really quick. And he did that one interview, and the interviewer said to Charlie Sheen, "Are you bipolar?" And he goes, just instantly, "I'm by winning. I go this way, I win. I go that way, I win. Win, by winning." But yeah, he was pretty quick. But that's kind of like Trump is like that too. He's like pretty quick with stuff. Anyway.
So this is far more than anybody expected, but the level of support that I've had from the nations in the Middle East and surrounding Israel and neighbors of Israel has been incredible. Every single one of them. This afternoon, after extensive consultation with our friends and partners throughout the region, I'm formally releasing our principles for peace, which people have really liked, I must say. And these are done not just routinely done, these are done with total consideration and working with the nations that we're talking about. All of these nations have made contributions to those suggestions. I want to thank the leaders of many Arab and Muslim nations for their tremendous support in developing the proposal, along with many of our allies in Europe. Europe has been very much involved, and as I was called by many of the European leaders, most of them saying, "Is this true? Are you really doing peace in the Middle East? This is the most incredible thing we've heard." Some think it's the biggest thing they've ever heard. They called just to find out, was it just a rumor or is it actually done? And then they said, "Have you spoken to the Arab leaders? Have you spoken to all of the other leaders that we have to get?" A lot of people involved in this one. I also want to thank Prime Minister Netanyahu for agreeing to the plan and for trusting that if we work together, we can bring an end to the death and destruction that we've seen for so many years, decades, even centuries, and begin a new chapter of security, peace, and prosperity for the entire region. And I want to just say that my meetings and dialogue that we had with So many countries, Saudi Arabia as an example, the king is a phenomenal person. The Emir of Qatar, he's an incredible people. UAE, and that's MBZ and ABZ. We're totally involved. These are the people that we've been dealing with and who've been actually very much involved in this negotiation, giving us ideas, things they can live with, things they can't live with. Pretty complex. I mean, after 2,000, 3,000 years, whatever it is, I guess it's got to be a little complex, or it would have been done a long time ago.
But fortunately, that's why I'm here. Thousands of years, no one could do it, but I could do it. I'll get it done. I'm Donald Trump.
Yeah. So, anyone see this already? I'm wondering how long he talks about other stuff before actually. I thought it was going to be like just laying out the plan. Well, no, actually, I didn't. I knew it would be a lot of a lot of building up the awesomeness of what he's done. To be clear, if he pulls this off again, I don't know how it would work, or if Hamas is going to have to agree, but it would be awesome, like instant legend status if you got some sort of peace deal out of this. Anyway,
the King of Jordan was with us, as you know, in the United Nations. The President of Turkey, President Erdogan, is a friend of mine, a strong man, but a good man.
Turks.
President of Indonesia, somebody who's an amazing leader.
Wait, I missed it. Is he saying all these people are have agreed to this peace deal, or that they were all gathered together and agreed to this peace deal? Because that does matter. If you have a bunch, here's the thing: if you have Trump and Netanyahu agreeing to something, that's probably not going to fly. If you had enough Muslim leaders to put more pressure on, again, I can't see Hamas agreeing to anything if this somehow involves Hamas agreeing. So you might have to, I don't know, make an agreement with some other group in there. But whatever happens, it does help if you have a bunch of the Middle East leaders agreeing with you. But yeah, let's watch more of this. Oh, you said yes. So he's saying they did agree, because that would actually make it more likely to succeed.
Prabowo, he is an amazing leader and respected by everybody. He was in the room with us. We were together with most of these people that I'm mentioning. Others were by phone or the next day. The Prime Minister and the Field Marshal of Pakistan, they were with us right from the beginning. Incredible. In fact, they just put out a statement that they fully believe in this pact. It just came out just as I was walking around. They said, "Sir, you have a big notice from the Prime Minister of Pakistan and from the Field Marshal that they back this 100%.
Well, if you got Pakistan on your side.
President El-Sisi of Egypt, who's terrific. And these are people I've gotten to know over the years. I mean, I would say it started around 2015 and then went into 2016 when the presidency officially began. But I've known him actually for a long time, and there are many cases really great men. I can't say in all cases, but I will tell you in many cases they're great men, and some great women too. They tend to be mostly men, however, I will say that. But if accepted by Hamas, this proposal calls for the release of all remaining hostages immediately, but in no case more than 72 hours.
Okay, interesting. So now we're getting to the actual. This is what I was looking for. What is the actual plan and deal that's on the table? So it looks like we're getting to it. Jeremy says, "Are we pretending a peace deal changes the Quran again?" Who's pretending that? We already know this won't work. Won't work for what? Won't work for ending a war? No, it can end a war. No, it doesn't change the Quran. There are still going to be jihadis obsessed with exterminating Jews and so on. What are you saying? Just let wars continue forever and don't try to stop them because there are going to be more wars in the future? All right, so sounds like he's laying out the plan. I backed it up a few seconds because he was starting the plan. Let's see.
There are many cases really great men. I can't say in all cases, but I will tell you in many cases they're great men. and some great women, too. They tend to be mostly men, however.
Pakistan?
I will say that. But if accepted by Hamas, this proposal calls for the release of all remaining hostages immediately, but in no case more than 72 hours.
Oh, so there's a deadline on this. There's a deadline on this deal. A deadline on this deal. 72 hours to return all the hostages. And there are some hostages that are still alive, and there they still have bodies as well of hostages, and Israel wants those returned as well. So 72 hours. Sounds like we got a deadline here.
So the hostages are coming back, and I hate even saying this from the standpoint, doesn't sound right, but it is so important to the parents. The bodies of the young men, I believe in almost all cases, the young men are coming back immediately. I met with parents. The parents felt as strongly about getting the body of their dead boy back as they did as though the boy were alive and well. It's so important to them. And it means the immediate end to the war itself, not just Gaza. It's the war itself. Under the plan, Arab and Muslim countries have committed, and in writing in many cases, but I actually would take their word for it. The people I mentioned, I'd take their word for it, to demilitarize Gaza, and that's quickly.
Demilitarize Gaza. Guys, is Hamas supposed to be on board with this? So Hamas would have to agree to return the hostages, right? That's under Hamas's control. It doesn't matter how many other people in the world agree that's what has to happen. They still have to agree to that, and apparently within 72 hours, and then demilitarize the entire area. Is Hamas going to agree to that? Again, haven't heard the rest of the plan, but here's what's interesting. I would guess, unless something really weird is going on and I don't know anything about it, I would strongly suspect that Hamas is not going to agree to this deal. But just think about it. All the people going, ceasefire, 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 stop the killing, stop the killing, stop the killing, stop the killing, stop the killing. You got repeated offers to stop the killing. Hey, let's end this now. And it's Hamas that refuses over and over again. So if this continues and there's a bloodbath, who's responsible? Anyway.
Decommission the military capabilities of Hamas and all other terror organizations. Do that immediately. And we're relying on the countries that I named and others to deal with Hamas. And I'm hearing that Hamas wants to get this done too.
Really? I don't believe it. I do not believe it. I will be shocked. I hope it happens. Guys, I really, really hope it happens. Whatever this plan is, I hope someone puts the pressure on Hamas to agree to this. Lily H says, Hamas doesn't have real power. Qatar will bend them to its will. I would hope so, but what Qatar says, hey, you guys surrender, turn yourselves in, and go be executed or be in prison for the rest of your lives. And Hamas is going to say, okay, Qatar. I know Qatar has a lot of pull, but again, this is a matter of survival of their organization for Hamas. If you're saying you guys are out of power, you guys lay down your arms, you're not going to be in power anymore, we're going to demilitarize the area, and recognize the state of Israel? I cannot imagine Qatar having the influence to get Hamas to agree to that. Again, I hope so. I hope that would be awesome. That would be, in fact, I will agree. If Trump succeeds with this plan within 72 hours, he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize for like the next 5 years running. 5 years in a row. 5 years. Nobel Peace Prize, Nobel Peace Prize, Nobel Peace Prize, Nobel Peace Prize, Nobel Peace Prize. I don't get to vote for that, but that would be my vote.
And destroy all terror infrastructure, including the tunnels, weapons of production facilities. They have a lot of production facilities that we're destroying. They'll also help train local police forces in the areas that we're discussing right now, in particular in and around Gaza, working with the new transitional authority in Gaza. All parties will agree on a timeline for Israeli forces to withdraw in phases. They'll be withdrawing in phases. No more shooting, hopefully, as progress is made toward achieving these goals. Arab and Muslim nations need to be allowed the chance to fulfill these commitments of dealing with Hamas. They have to deal with them because they were the one group that we have not dealt with. I haven't dealt with them.
It does seem like Trump is good at working out deals with like everyone else, like a bunch of other places, and it's something. This is something true of Trump, which hasn't been true of other recent leaders that. Other recent Western leaders are kind of like a joke to Middle Eastern leaders. Like, you guys are so worried about Islamophobia and stuff. You're going to come over here and you're going to do whatever we say. In other words, in the minds of the Middle Eastern leaders, when one of these other Western leaders comes over, it's like, we're in charge of you. We're more powerful than you. You do what we want. And Trump, they actually seem to respect as like a strong guy, which is the only thing that impresses them.
But the Arab countries are going to, and Muslim countries are going to be dealing with Hamas, and I believe they've already been there. I think they probably have an understanding, and they haven't maybe mentioned that, but I would imagine they do. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone as far as they've gone. If they're unable to do so, then Israel would have the absolute right and actually our full backing, the U.S. full backing. Marco's here, and a lot of our leaders are here, our great Vice President, Susie Wiles, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. They've been so involved in this process. I don't think anybody else could have done it or even come close. But it's we're right there. We're right there. First time in thousands of years, I think you can probably say, if you really look into it, if you study back, if you're a scholar, you would say thousands of years. Israel would have my full backing to finish the job.
Hang on, guys. Did I hear that correctly? Did he say if Hamas doesn't agree to this, that Israel's going to have the full backing of the U.S. to finish the job? Because that sounds like so what is that? I mean, I don't know what you mean full backing. I just mean you're going to get our thumbs up, or we're actually going to help you, or something like that. What do you mean by full backing? But anyway, that sounded, I'm going to back this up because this would be another seriously important part. If he's saying like Hamas has 72 hours to agree to this or something like this, or Israel's going to finish the job, sounds like Israel is just going to get the thumbs up to completely crush and destroy you guys, and they will have our full support, and it will be your fault because we offered you the deal. That's what it sounded like to me. Let's see.
Shooting, hopefully, as progress is made toward achieving these goals. Arab and Muslim nations need to be allowed the chance to fulfill these commitments of dealing with Hamas. They have to deal with them because they were the one group that we have not dealt with. I haven't dealt with them. But the Arab countries are going to, and Muslim countries are going to be dealing with Hamas, and I believe they've already been there. I think they probably have an understanding, and they haven't maybe mentioned that, but I would imagine they do. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone as far as they've gone. If they're unable to do so, then Israel would have the...
Okay, if they're unable to do so, that's if these other Muslim nations are unable to get Hamas to agree to the deal, then Israel will have the full support of the U.S. to finish the job. Truth Seeker here said, Trump said no more wars. What a liar. What do you mean? What war? What war is Trump starting? There's already a war. There's a war already going on. What do you mean? Is there another war? Guys, did Trump start another war and I didn't? What war is he talking about? What war is Truth Seeker talking about that Trump is starting? He's starting another war. Because, I mean, it sounds like Trump is saying this war is going to end one way or another. We're offering a deal for peace. We've got everyone on board. Hamas just has to agree, and then the war is over. And if they do not agree to peace, then the war is still going to be over because we're just going to get it over as quickly as possible and crush it. And then the war is going to be over. So it sounds like he's talking about ending a war. So what are you talking about? No new wars, and he's a liar. All right, I'm going to fast forward a bit because I know he started talking about some other people. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. So he's saying it's the Arab nations, it's the Muslim nations who are talking to Hamas to get them to agree. And if they can't get Hamas to agree, then Israel will have the full support of the U.S. to finish the job.
We're right there. First time in thousands of years, I think you can probably say, if you really look into it, if you study back, if you're a scholar, you would say thousands of years. Israel would have my full backing to finish the job of destroying the threat of Hamas. But I hope that we're going to have a deal for peace. And if Hamas rejects the deal, which is always possible, they're the only one left. Everyone else has accepted it. But I have a feeling that we're going to have a positive answer. But if not, as you know, Bibi, you'd have our full backing to do what you would have to do. Everyone understands that the ultimate result must be the elimination of any danger posed in the region.
What do we have here? Why doesn't Netanyahu just stop funding Hamas? What do you mean? How's Netanyahu funding Hamas, Pat Booth? Hey, Pat Booth, I just paused so you could enlighten everyone on how Netanyahu is funding Hamas. Because right now, he's only funding Hamas in one way. He's sending in tons and tons of aid trucks, many of which are taken by Hamas, and then they sell them, and so they become rich. So what are you saying? That they should stop the aid trucks? Is that what you're saying? What are you saying, Pat Booth? Giving you an opportunity, man. Hey, Pat, you wanted attention. Why doesn't Netanyahu just stop funding Hamas? How's he funding Hamas? Is Pat Booth responding? What's up with all these guys where you say something, they want attention, and then you give them an opportunity. You give them an opportunity to respond, and then they go into ghost mode. Lily says he doesn't fund Hamas. Yeah, I know. That's why Pat says, why doesn't he stop funding Hamas? Which, that's saying what? Stop. That means he's funding Hamas right now, right? And that he needs to stop. So Lily says he doesn't fund Hamas. He wants transferred funds from Qatar to Hamas for peace. Yeah. And keep in mind why that was, because that was a long-standing pattern, right? That goes all the way back to Yasser Arafat, right? You'd have the rulers who are in charge of the various terrorist groups. And the deal would basically be, hey, make us, the leaders, very, very rich and become billionaires, and we'll make sure no one attacks you. And if you don't keep making us rich, well, we're just going to attack you. And so that's been quite frequently Israel's position on all these issues. Okay, if these guys becoming rich, billionaires, if that's going to keep the people in line, because the leaders are rich and the leaders don't want to lose their positions and so on, don't want to lose their wealth, and they want to keep the money rolling in, but they'll keep the people in check. Okay, let's do that. But then you have the actual, what you might call the true believers, right? They're not just in it for money. They're leaders who aren't just in it for billions of dollars. They really do believe, hey, we will go on killing sprees over this stuff, and we're going to keep coming at them. And then, so when you have the actual true believers who, keep in mind, Hamas, a bunch of Hamas leaders are billionaires, right? When you have the true believers, it's, yeah, I'm a billionaire, but I'm still going to attack you, and I'm still willing to go down fighting. Then what happens? They say, oh, look, Israel was helping fund them. Israel was helping fund them and transferring money. Israel was supporting Israel's transferring money because Israel, you had a bunch of leaders who thought if these guys are rich, they're not going to want to lose that. They'll focus on money and they won't focus on terror. Guess what? Didn't work. But why do you guys represent it? Why do you talk about it like they're like, yeah, let's keep giving these guys money so they can terrorize us? Their view is, hey, if the people want to transfer them money and it's going to keep them from attacking us, then that's fine. That's fine with us. And they know they're funding them. Stop acting like idiots, guys. What just happened right before this? I remember he just said something. I'm backing up. Let's see.
Finish the job of destroying the threat of Hamas. But I hope that we're going to have a deal for peace. And if Hamas rejects the deal, which is always possible, they're the only one left. Everyone else has accepted it. But I have a feeling that we're going to have a positive answer. But if not, as you know, Bibi, you'd have our full backing to do what you would have to do.
Wow. You would have our full backing to do what you have to do. That is a serious, serious, serious threat. And I don't know. I believe him. I think Trump is saying this gets done one way or another, peace deal or finish off Hamas, finish them off. But either way, it's going to be done. I don't know if it'll actually work, but sounds serious. Let's take a couple of super chats. Dividing God's land will provoke wrath per prophecy. Bigly bad plan. Would you testify before Congress if it was to classify Islam as a cult? Why would I care about classifying Islam as a cult? I couldn't conceivably care less. I'd be way more interesting in people learning what it says than how to classify it. Feeling close, 1 Thessalonians 5:3, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Yeah, you can always apply Bible prophecies to these situations, guys, but just keep in mind, you don't know if prophecy is going to be fulfilled 10,000 years from now. You had people 1,000 years ago going, hey, this is happening right now. Guess what? Didn't happen right then. So it's kind of weird to say I'm going to make all my plans about what to do in light of my belief that this prophecy is being fulfilled right now. You don't know that it's being fulfilled right now. Hi, David. Are you still going to do the Tom Holland live stream? I thought Holland's insights and thoughts on Islam and the UK's future pretty insightful and well put. A favorite historian of mine. Yeah, I had everything ready. We had the clips ready and stuff like that. But I'll check with IP. Because the original plan was to go through it with IP. We'll see. I'll be talking to him later today. Yes, this would isolate them if they don't agree and give legitimacy to use more force to end this crap. Yeah, that sounds like the plan. Like, okay, we're putting a deal on the table. We're getting everyone involved. Let's see if Hamas agrees. If they do, awesome. If not, then this is going to be on them. This is going to be on them. And everyone who objects later on, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're bombing the crap out of Hamas. We offered them a deal. We offered them a deal and they didn't take it. So we're getting this over one way or another. But yeah, that's what it sounds like. Most effective way to deal with American Muslims for Palestine. I've written to city council and my congressmen as well as state reps, state senators. As far as dealing with people, I've said the most important thing, the most effective thing is you need an informed population. People still do not. You still have tons of people, like a ton of the people on college campuses and stuff. A ton of the people at protests and so on. When they're screaming free Palestine and so on, they think they just mean like give Gaza its own state. That's what they think they're cheering for. I mean, lots of like the students and stuff. I know you can walk up to them and ask them what they're cheering for, and they think they're cheering for something, and they don't know what they're actually supporting and cheering for, right? Free Palestine, like from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free, is a call to wipe out Israel and for it all to be under the control of terrorist groups. That's what that's a call for. And you have all these dumb people who don't know what they're actually calling for and don't actually know what they're supporting. So the most important thing is for people to understand the actual situation, to understand what Islam calls for, that Islam calls for the eventual ultimate extermination of Jews, that groups like Hamas have vowed to carry this out. They vowed to continue attacking no matter how long it takes until that goal of completely exterminating Jews is carried out. And it's important for people to know that. Once you see everything in light of how Islam is using all of this for the goal of wiping out Jews, that would change. That would shift support. But in the average person's mind who's at one of these rallies, so you have people who know what they're talking about, right? You have the protesters who know, yes, this is exactly what we're calling for. We're calling for Israel to be wiped out. Tons of the people have no clue. They just have no clue. They've seen clips on TikTok and X and so on and going, wow, Israel just keeps bombing these people. Why does Israel keep bombing them? Why can't you just let them go? We know they did an attack. We know they did an attack, but my goodness, look, you've killed so many. You've damaged them way more than they damaged you. Why not just end it? Why not just end it? That makes sense. They don't understand how this is all being used in the grand scheme of things. So people need to understand what the actual plan and agenda in all of this is. And that's kind of the first step. Because once you understand and it's become clear to you, and you're like, oh, Islam calls for the annihilation of these guys. Islam calls for the subjugation of the entire world. Israel's just the closest thing that they believe they need to subjugate. That's a stepping stone. You do that, then the attention is going to turn to Spain. Then they're going to want to continue wiping out Christians in Nigeria so they can push through Africa. It's all ultimately about taking over the entire world. Once people actually understand how all of this ties together, if they then say, yep, and we support it, then what are you saying? You're supporting exterminating Jews and stuff, and we know that you're just an evil person. But again, lots of people just don't know and still don't know.
Everyone understands that the ultimate result must be the elimination of any danger posed in the region, and that danger is caused by Hamas. The tyranny of terror has to end, and this is, again, something that we're looking for. This is eternity. This is for forever. To ensure the success of this effort, my plan calls for the creation of a new international oversight body, the Board of Peace, we call it, the Board of Peace, sort of a beautiful name, the Board of Peace, which will be headed, not at my request, believe me, I'm very busy, but we have to make sure this works. The leaders of the Arab world and Israel and everybody involved asked me to do this, so it would be headed by a gentleman known as President Donald J. Trump of the United States. That's what I want, is some extra work to do, but it's so important that I'm willing to do it, and we'll do it right, and we're going to put leaders from other countries on, and leaders that are very distinguished leaders, and we'll have a board, and one of the people that wants to be on the board is the UK former Prime Minister, Tony Blair, good man, very good man, and some others.
Tony Blair. Here's the thing. Tony Blair was way back in the day, but Tony Blair is someone where I think he had good intentions, not evil intentions, and but he's not very wise and gullible. He's gullible and did a bunch of stupid stuff. The thing is, I think he's admitted that he did a bunch of stupid stuff. But yeah, I don't know if bragging about having Tony Blair in your group, unless he's wisened up. I hope he's wisened up over the years. Hang on, let me check this. One second. We drink Sam's Cola instead of Diet Coke, so I can afford to send you money. Awesome. Awesome, funny. Wanted to get to this one. Bible believing says, Hosea 6:2, after 2 days he will revive us, and the third day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight. Day equals 1,000 years. Are you one of these guys who like tries to do calculations to figure out when everything's happening, even though Jesus told you you don't know the day or the hour? Because I'll never buy it. And how many times have people been right when they try to do their calculations? And Trump sold out to Qatar. What do you mean? Paradox, what do you mean? Trump sold out to Qatar. Angel on the Hill said, Tony Blair is the reason for everything that's wrong in the UK. Not the reason for everything that's wrong. Again, just the kind of vibe I've gotten from Tony Blair over the years is guy with good intentions, too gullible, doesn't understand how things actually work. And people like that end up doing tons and tons and tons of damage. What's that they say? The path to hell is paved with good intentions. It's kind of that situation. And that's true of lots of Western leaders. It's true of lots of people in the world today. It's true of lots of people who are screaming for ceasefire and stuff. A lot of people have good intentions. You have people with purely evil intentions, but you have people with lots of good intentions and stuff. And if you have good intentions, guess what? There are people who will take advantage of your good intentions. Let's see. Wait, so the U.S. is going to back the Jews? That's Prophet Mo. From Prophet Mo right there. You even see him right there. He's laying on the couch. This is when he's being psychoanalyzed by Sigmund Freud, a.k.a. the apostate prophet.
And they'll be named over the next few days. And it'll be quite the board. Working, everybody wants to be on it now. I don't know if that had anything to do. They named me and everybody else wanted to be on it. I guess they figure, well, he's a soft touch. He'll be easy to deal with. Working with the World Bank and others, it will be responsible for recruiting and training.
Seems like Trump has it seems like they give Trump a set of notes, and then he'll read a sentence that he's supposed to read, and then he'll just improv after that. And it seems like he does that every time.
A new government that will be made up of Palestinians along with highly qualified experts from all around the world. Hamas and other terrorist factions will play no role in the board, but they'll play no role in the governance of Gaza at all, directly or indirectly. As you know, thousands of Hamas leaders have been killed and soldiers have been killed. And we can never forget October 7th, but thousands have paid the price for that. And now it's time to get our hostages back and get back to trying to build something that's really great and very important. In our meeting today, Prime Minister Netanyahu was very clear about his opposition to a Palestinian state. And he continuously mentions October 7th, and I understand that. Most people do. And I understand and respect his position on many things, but what he's doing today is so good for Israel. I notice that they have large crowds gathering in Israel all the time, and they have my name up. They like me for whatever reason, Bibi, I don't know, but they do like me. But they say two things. Please get the hostages back and please end the war. They've had it. It's had it. So I think it's a very popular thing you do because he's a warrior. He doesn't know about getting back to a normal way of life, but he is a warrior, and Israel's lucky to have him. But now the people want to get back to peace. They want to get back to normalization in a true sense. Several countries have foolishly recognized the Palestinian state. As you know, some of our European friends, allies, good people, but they're really, I think, doing that because they're very tired of what's going on for so many decades. They've been presidents and prime ministers for years, and during this time, having to do with the Middle East, all they're doing is talking about the same thing over and over. They want to see it get back. And nobody wants that more than me, or I believe Bibi too. But the people of Israel want it. They really want it. They want the hostages back. Mm-hmm. That includes the probably 32 bodies that we're talking about, 20 people that are living, 32 or so people that are dead. and they want to have peace. So let us not forget how we got here. Hamas was elected by the Palestinian people. Israel withdrew from Gaza thinking they would live in peace. Remember that a long time ago, they withdrew. They said, you take it. This is our contribution to peace. But that didn't work out.
Guys, and don't forget that. Because you had all these, you had everyone for so long just, hey, get Israel out of there and let them run things for themselves, and then they'll be happy. Israel did it. Israel left. There were even Jews living in Gaza. Israel pulled all the Jews out of Gaza, forced them out of Gaza. Okay, you guys have your state. Now what? Then they elect Hamas, which had vowed to exterminate Jews, and then it's endless terrorist attacks. So why is there a war? That's what I don't get. All the people who are like, oh, if you just give them a state, if you just do this, if you just do, what do they have to do before you will realize that they're dedicated to wiping out Israel and exterminating Jews? Like, what do they have? Where are you getting the idea they just want their own little piece of? They had that. They were given that, and all they used it for was a terrorist base. That's all they used it for. All they ever do is dig tunnels. All they ever do is dig tunnels and manufacture rockets and come up with ways to attack Israel. That's all they do. It's their entire goal of the leadership. What else does Hamas do? What else does Hamas do? They're in charge. They're the government of Gaza. What else do they do besides plot to wipe out Israel? And yet you still have people. Oh, all they want is to just be left alone. Bull. They won't even say that unless they're just talking to Greta Thunberg or something like that. What is this? Okay. So revisiting this Bible believing, dude, seriously, we're not interested. Hosea 6. So this is what he said earlier. Hosea 6:2. After 2 days, he will revive us. And the third day, he will raise us up and we shall live in his sight. Day equals 1,000 years. And I said, hey, are you doing calculations here? Cause not terribly interesting. And then he followed up. I'm not a date setter, but we're to know the season. And there's many signs. We're not clueless. Day, hour, not about rapture. Reread. Okay. If you're talking about rereading this, in Hosea, this is about Israel and Judah, right? These are the two kingdoms. Come, let us return to the Lord, for he has torn us that he may heal us. This is starting in verse 1. He has struck us down, and he will bind us up. After 2 days, he will revive us. On the third day, he will raise us up, that we may live before him, right? So then you take 2 days and 3 days, and on the third day, and then you applied a day is as 1,000 years, which that's not for doing math. That's a statement about how time it's completely irrelevant to God in a way it's not for us, right? Time for God is different than time for us. You're using it, day. When I see day, that means 1,000 years. Okay, just stop, dude, stop. Not interested. You're taking a passage about Israel and Judah. You're saying, this applies to right now, and we're going to do the math. Come on, just stop. Seriously, not interested, dude. You've been warned, dude. Go away.
That didn't work out. It was the opposite of peace. They pulled away. They let them have it. And I never forgot that because I said...
Hang on. Here we go. So Fox said somebody brought up the Schofield Bible today, and I immediately zoned out. You've got people who are programmed to bring up Schofield Bible anytime you say... anytime you think that Israel even has a right to exist or something like that, they go, "Oh, you're getting that from the Schofield Bible." Right. That's the only way anyone could possibly conclude that they don't want Jews being completely wiped out. So it's just the only way. So yeah, I understand zoning out in that situation. Then we had Moses 3400 BC, let my people go. Moses 2340 AD, let my world go. And then we have Bible believing again. Prophecy is my love. I'd love to discuss it with you. It'd be a good time. It would not be a good time. I don't know how many different ways I can say I'm not interested in this. Look, it said right here, and that's 2 days and blah, blah, blah. Gosh, I mean, there are so many important things to do besides sitting down and going, this says 2 days, and it's talking about Israel and Judah, but 2 days, and he says over here, a day says 1,000 years, so I'm going to... that may be a good time to you. That would be a complete waste of time to me. So again. But David, if we just recognize Palestine, they'll see the error in their ways and their hearts will melt and there will be peace on earth. Yeah, that's what lots of people think. Their hearts will melt. And then look for signs like it's astrology, new age dump. Yeah.
Doesn't sound like a good deal to me. As a real estate person, I mean, they gave up the ocean, right? Ron, they gave up the ocean. They said, who would do this deal? And it still didn't work out. They were very generous, actually. And they gave up the most magnificent piece of land in many ways in the Middle East. And they said, all we want to do now is have peace. And that request was not honored. Instead of building a better life for the Palestinians, Hamas diverted resources to build over 400 miles of tunnels and terror infrastructure, rocket production facilities, and hid their military command posts and launch sites in hospitals, schools, and mosques. So if you went after them, you'd be after them, and you wouldn't even realize you ended up knocking out a hospital or school or a mosque. A terrible thing, terrible, terrible way to have to fight. No fight is good, but that's a real bad one. So there are many Palestinians who wish to live in peace. Many. I've seen so many of them. And they have support. And I challenge the Palestinians to take responsibility for their destiny, because that's what we're giving them. We're giving them responsibility for their destiny, fully condemn and prohibit terrorism and earn their way to a brighter future. They don't want the life that they've had. They've had a rough life with Hamas. If the Palestinian Authority does not complete the reforms that I laid out in my vision for peace in 2020, they'll have only themselves to blame. We're giving them an amazing footprint, and they have amazing support from the leaders of the Arab world and the Muslim world, the great leaders. These are great leaders. These are unbelievable leaders that have built great countries and very wealthy countries.
So there he was talking about the Palestinian Authority. So not Hamas. So there he's talking about the Palestinian Authority and saying if they don't carry out the plan that he laid out several years ago, then that's not going to work out too well for them. But guys, I mean, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a better situation than this for the possibility of peace. You've got Trump on board. You have a bunch of Middle Eastern nations all around the area, all on board. You've even got Pakistan on board. I don't really care about it. They're pretty far away from the action to play much of a significant role. But the nations that are all around there, Egypt and all these guys all play a role. Turkey, they have a lot of sway. So if everyone around there is saying, yeah, let's get this done so we can move on in the world and people can actually live normal lives and so on, this seems like the best case scenario for a peace deal. I still think Hamas is going to reject it, but I mean, that's kind of the point. Hey, everyone agrees. Everyone agrees. This is the right time for this. If the terrorist groups say no, they're not just saying no to Israel. They're not just saying no to the United States. They're saying no to all these other nations as well. And so it sounds like it's going to be, okay, you guys turn down the best deal at the best deal you're going to get at just the right time. You turned it down. And so that's on you. Everything that happens from now is on you. You'll still have a bunch of protesters screaming about it.
What the future holds for the Palestinians, no one really knows, but the plan that we put forward today is focused on ending the war immediately, getting all of our hostages back, getting everything back. Hard to believe when you even say it, and creating conditions for durable Israeli security and Palestinian success. Israeli security is going to be involved. We're going to help you. We'll be there with you in terms of helping with security. We want to make sure it works. We just want to make sure it works. There shouldn't be a shot fired. Now, there will be, I guess, because that's the way it seems to be, but there shouldn't have to be within a few days. There shouldn't have to be a shot fired. Maybe for eternity. Wouldn't that be nice? I hope it's true. I can tell you.
So we're offering them this deal. We're giving them 72 hours. There shouldn't have to be a shot fired. They should just agree, no shots fired. And then it's going to last for eternity. All right, all you prophecy buffs. Here's where I call bull, right? But anyway, yeah. We know Trump uses a lot of hyperbole and so on. But yeah, we can safely say, either from the biblical perspective, that there's not going to be that's not going to be peace. This deal will not be peace in the Middle East for eternity. But you don't even need biblical prophecy for that. You can have a good idea that, yeah, I don't think there's going to be peace for eternity here with that.
The leadership of that region feels that there's a good chance of it being true. So this will lead to this agreement that we're talking about will lead to a sustainable, long-term peace. No president in history has been a greater friend of the state of Israel than I have, in addition to negotiating the...
I have to say, he's kind of right on that one. Right? He's kind of right on that. I've heard Bibi say that.
Abraham Accords. I like to say it that way because the real people, that's what they call Abraham. I would say Abraham, but it's so much nicer when you say Abraham. So much more elegant.
It's funny. He's got all these news people and stuff in there giggling.
But the Abraham Accords are amazing. Jared, you did that along with your group of geniuses, and nobody thought that could be done. We have 4 countries, and Sleepy Joe Biden didn't do a thing. He didn't even know what the hell they were. He should have had them fold up. But I think this will also lead to packing them. And who knows, maybe even Iran can get in there. I hope. We hope we're going to be able to get along with Iran.
Iran now?
They're going to be open to it. I really believe that. But they could be a member. I long ago said, I'll bet you at some point.
Let me change that. Iran could. Just not with their current regime. But Iran could change very rapidly at any point. Iran is a Muslim minority nation right now. The leaders in Iran, the mullahs, they only have the support of the extremists among them. And that's not most of the population. That's a minority of the population, a small minority of the population, but it's the only group that supports them. That's why they can't compromise on something like wearing the hijab or something. If they were to compromise on something, if the leaders were to compromise on something like that, they wouldn't even have this. They would lose the support of the hardliners, which is the only support they still have. And that's why they have to continue being brutal. But that's what's ticking off the rest of the population. And so seems like a matter of time. Seems like that could happen anytime. The Iranian regime could fall like next month or next year or something like that. But yeah, if the Ayatollah and all his people were not in charge, then Iran would be awesome, guys. Iran would be awesome. There are a lot of people there just are not mental cases and could have an awesome country.
Iran will be a member of the Accords, and little did I realize it was going to take this turn. That was some turn we did with the B-2s. But I think they might very well be there because it's a great thing for them economically. I recognize the eternal capital of Israel. I opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. That was something that everyone said would never be done, could never be done. Virtually every president for many, many years, for decades, would campaign on making Jerusalem the capital of Israel. They campaigned on it over and over. Is that right, Steve? Is that right? Everyone, and when they got to it, and I understand why now, because it was so. When I got to office, I campaigned on it too. I said, we're going to make it. And then I'd get calls from the leaders of various countries saying, please don't do it, please don't do it. It'll end the whole world, please don't do it. And finally, I just didn't say anything, and I did it. People were calling me before I did it because they heard I was going to do it, and leaders of countries were calling me, and I think it was on a Thursday that I did it, and they'd call me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3-4 times a day, and I said, tell them I'll call them back on Friday. And I announced it on Thursday, and I called them back, the biggest people in the world, and they said, you've done it. I said, done what? You've made the capital of Israel, Jerusalem, and we wanted to talk yet. I wish you called me a little sooner. Maybe I could have done something about. So
anyone get the feeling that like a Trump speech? Let's suppose a Trump speech is like an hour. Doesn't it seem like anything he says in an hour he could have said in like 12 minutes if he just like focused on? Anyway, I guess a lot of people like that he's like conversational and stuff like that. But anyway, it's like, okay, if I'm trying to hear what the plan is, and you could say the plan in like 4 minutes, why? Okay, let's talk about other things. All right.
that was a lot easier than getting into an argument because I knew what they were calling about. And you know what? It turned out to be amazing. Everybody thought it was going to lead to the end of the world, right? The end of the world, Ron. That's what they said. It didn't lead to anything. It just led to something that I promised and something that was very, very popular for Jewish people and a lot of other people, too. I recognize Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, and I cut taxpayer funding to the corrupt United Nations Relief and Works Agency. And United Nations was interesting because, as you know, a few days ago, they introduced me. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. I'm looking at my teleprompter, and the thing was dead, stone cold, dead. The thing's up here. I have a long, beautiful speech to make. I'm back 30 feet back, and I'm saying, they're introducing me. There's nothing on my teleprompter. So, but I made a speech. I actually got good marks. You think Biden could have done that? I don't think so. I don't think he could have done that. I don't think too many people could have done it. But actually, it was actually more of a speech from my heart, if you want to know the truth. I think it was maybe better in certain ways because it was from the heart.
Now he's gone on for a couple minutes now about how he got up and the speech that he was prepared to give was not on the teleprompter, so he had to do it improv. And he's saying what a great job he did, even though it was improv. You know who actually did that? And amazingly, you got to give credit where credit is due. This was a long time ago. Hang on one second. We have Shannon here says, they call it weaving. He weaves comments in and out of the written speech. That sounds correct. But Clinton, for his, I forget which one it was, but it was for his State of the Union address. And he has this big hour-some long State of the Union address. And teleprompter broke down. And instead of saying, all right, everyone stop, we just got to stop, teleprompter's not working, because people don't always know that your teleprompter's not working, right? So you could actually stop and just say, all right, everyone, we need to stop this for now. We got to set the teleprompter and get that right. He just rolled with it, but he gave his entire presentation and remembered it all. So yeah. Biden couldn't find his way off stage without the Easter Bunny. Yeah, as Trump was pointing out, there's no way Biden. I mean, everything was like auto pen and stuff like this. But yeah, that was a terrible presidency. Biden. It's basically everyone else was pulling the strings, and we still don't even know who was doing all the string pulling.
It has to be from the heart, otherwise you're in big trouble. But I cut taxpayer funding for that very corrupt United Nations Relief and Works Agency, and nobody thought that would be done, and withdrew from the horrible Iran nuclear deal that was imposed upon Israel by Barack Hussein Obama and Biden. And I don't think Biden knew anything about it, though. I don't think he knows anything about it now, actually, if you ask him. He'd say, what is that? And we obliterated Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity, making it impossible for them to have a nuclear weapon, which they would have had probably in about 2 months from that. But I've never asked Israel to compromise its security, but we had big, strong talk. Nobody's been better to Israel. No president's been better to Israel than Donald Trump. But we had a long, strong talk, Bibi and I. And
this is a weird situation because he always brags about being the best. And here, when he's saying, no one's been a better friend to Israel than I have, no other president, and it's like, if you're sitting there thinking, again, well, this is a situation where he's right. And again, Netanyahu would agree to this.
He understands it's time. It's time. History has shown. And the people of Israel want it. And the people of the Middle East want it. The people of enemies of Israel want it. But they don't have really too many enemies right now. And you know what? Many countries have gained great respect for Israel, for the way they fight, for the job they do, including me. I had respect anyway, but they gained respect. History has shown us that those who have...
Including me. I already had respect, but I got respect. I got more respect. You gotta love this guy. Magic Mirror says, I'm a Trump supporter, but the rambling drives me bananas. Yeah, this is a situation where, I mean, I hope he's successful. I absolutely hope he's successful. We're 23 minutes into this, and it seems to me like the stuff that's actually relevant to the peace plan could have been said in like 3 of the 23 minutes. With that said, some of it's just hilarious. Some of it is hilarious. So it's kind of a mix. Sometimes it's just, oh, okay, yeah, great. You're telling us a story about how your teleprompter broke down. And then you're talking about, and on Thursday, this happened on Friday, and Thursday, and Friday, and Thursday, and then Friday. And then they called me up on Thursday and Friday. So, okay, I'm not interested in this. If you're being funny, that's fine. Even the bragging and boasting is kind of fine because that's also funny. But yeah, get to the point, man. Get to the point.
Relations with Israel have thrived, while those who have devoted resources and attention toward the destruction and even annihilation of Israel have languished. They haven't done well. Israel is not going anywhere. They're going to coexist with other people and countries in the region, from Syria to Lebanon to Saudi Arabia. The promise of a new Middle East is so clearly within our reach. This is the closest we've ever come to real peace, not fake peace, not political fool's peace. If we can get this difficult problem solved, the opportunities for all within that vast region of this world, it's a vast region, it's unlimited. The Abraham Accords show that all countries are better off when they communicate and work together and embrace new opportunities. I hope Jared and Steve and Susie and Marco and JD, we have great people. I hope you guys are going to work very hard to get these other countries in, because now they have no excuse. There's no longer an excuse. They were somewhere hesitant. And I tell you, the 4 countries that went in, I give them tremendous credit, and it's worked out incredibly well for them. In the same spirit, I'm pleased to report that earlier today we took another important step toward greater understanding in the region. A short time ago, we had a historic phone call in the Oval Office with Prime Minister Tani, who's really a great person. So we had a great talk, and I was on the phone, and Bibi was talking. Prime Minister Al-Thani was of Qatar. They really had a heart-to-heart conversation. It was a great conversation, I thought.
So some people say it was the best conversation ever, but it couldn't be because I was not really. That was between them. So it couldn't be the best conversation ever, because if you take the top 5 conversations that have ever happened in all of history, those conversations would be with Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, and Donald Trump. All five of them, probably the top 10, maybe even the top 100 conversations of all time will all been conversations with me, because that's just the effect I had.
It was productive. It was everything that you need to have something turn out to be successful. And I want to thank Bibi, and I want to thank the Prime Minister. It was fantastic. We agreed to launch a formal trilateral mechanism between Israel, Qatar, and the United States to begin a dialogue to enhance mutual security, correct misperceptions, and avoid future misgivings. And I want to thank Qatar, its leadership, and the Emir. He's a fantastic person. I think, I'm going to be his public relations man because I know him differently than a lot of people know him.
Some people say I'm the best public relations man ever, and they're right. That's true. It's yet another reason I deserve all the Nobel Peace Prizes, and probably all the Nobel Prizes. I mean, think about it. Science, whatever, doesn't matter. I should get them all.
But he wants peace. He wants to see peace. And his people, and they really acknowledge the critical role that they've played as mediator And again, we're not quite finished. We have to get Hamas, but I think they're going to be able to do that. So now it's time for Hamas.
It just cracks me up. It's not finished. Still got to get Hamas on board. Okay, so the one massive overarching obstacle, the one thing that seems okay, that's kind of like the one thing that doesn't seem like it's going to work. Oh yeah, we just got to do that.
To accept the terms of the plan that we've put forward today. And again, this is a different Hamas than we were dealing with because I guess over 20,000 have been killed. Their leadership has been killed 3 times over. So you're really dealing with different people than we've been dealing with over the last 4 years, 5 years. Everyone has done their part and come to the table in good faith. Our Arab and Muslim partners are fully prepared to step up and fulfill their commitments for the benefit of the people of Gaza and the entire region. They're willing to step up and do a lot. They really are. There are a lot of good people involved. Everybody who wants to see an end to the violence and destruction should be united in calling for Hamas to accept the extremely fair proposal so that we can end the war and get us back our hostages right now and have everlasting peace.
Everlasting.
And I look forward to having...
And if I'm the one who's going to bring everlasting peace, I guess that would make me the Messiah. Some say. I wouldn't say it, but they're right. They're right if they think I'm the Messiah.
Relationships with everyone as the chairman of the board. I'll be involved and we'll have meetings with some very smart people that'll be working over there to make sure that we haven't just been wasting time with an agreement that doesn't get done. The task of building peace will not be easy. There are some of the hardest problems in the world to solve, and that's why it's been going on for so many centuries. But too many lives are at stake not to try, and this was more than a try. I mean, I think this is something that gets done when you have virtually every country, and these are powerful, powerful countries that have a lot of money, and the money can make things happen. A lot of countries try, and they don't have any money. These are very rich countries that can make things happen. So together we'll forge a much safer and more hopeful future for everybody, including Israel. And I want to thank Prime Minister Netanyahu for his partnership, and I want to thank all of the leaders.
Guys, this is interesting because I'm looking at the time. The entire we've gone through 2/3 of the video, and I know Netanyahu also speaks. So you got Trump, he's given his speech, and then Netanyahu at some point here is going to start giving a speech, but 2/3 of the time is already done. So wondering when it's going to kick it to Netanyahu here.
The kings and the emirs and the presidents and prime ministers, people I mentioned, and they've been absolutely fantastic to work with, and it's just happened very quickly. It's happened from a couple of weeks before I had a couple of meetings, but a couple of weeks before we went to the United Nations, and we had some incredible meetings. It all came to place. It all took place, and everybody wanted to be a part of it. I don't have anybody that's saying we don't want anything to do with it. It's just the opposite. And I'll tell you, a year ago, I don't think we would have had this kind of participation, Mr. VP, right? I don't think we would have had. It's been amazing. The participation was 100%. Everybody wants to be a part of it. And everybody, those very strong countries, everybody wants it to work. So, Bibi, congratulations on this. I think this will be your crowning achievement, frankly. If this all works out, we think it will. It's going to be your crowning achievement. And I want to thank you very much for being here. Thank you. Please.
Thank you.
Hey! Okay, so Trump took a little over 2/3 of the time, and now looks like it's we're going to have a speech from Netanyahu. I would guess there won't be as much sort of weaving. I guess there won't be as much weaving. That's what we heard it was called from. I think it was Shannon who said that. Let's see. Take these couple super chats and then we'll check out Netanyahu's speech. Again, much shorter. Thank you for sharing your experience. Not sure which experience you're referring to there. That was from earlier. Wait till you read the Trump 20-point peace plan. No, I'd rather have Trump. I'd rather have Trump explain it for 3 hours. Just sending support. Thank you, Trevor. Trump sure loves the sound of his own voice, lol. Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of him, right? I mean, he got elected. He got elected twice. Doing that. No, any plan that requires the goodwill, collaboration of existing Palestinian factions will work, especially when Europeans reward their misbehavior. Europeans rewarding these guys is the biggest reason that it continues. If these groups got the memo, hey, under no circumstances are we ever going to give you what you want if it's the result of terrorism. Instead, everyone rewards it constantly, over and over again, which sends the terrorists the message, if you just keep going, you'll eventually win. That's the problem, right? It's still in their minds. Just look around the world. Look at all the protests. Look at everyone flipping out against Israel. Look at it. Oh, we're winning. Why are you gonna agree to a deal all of a sudden? You're getting everything you wanted. Again, we look at it and go, look at all the look at all the destroyed buildings. Look at all the dead people. Hamas couldn't conceivably care less about any of that. They don't care. So what's the incentive for them to surrender or to make the deal? That's the issue. I don't know what it is. It's possible. It's possible because you have all these other nations involved that they would be able to put enough pressure on them, or they could make a deal. Like, in other words, it's, hey, Hamas, here, don't worry. We're going to make sure you're okay, but you need to take this deal. I'll still be very surprised if this actually works in the next 72 hours. Hope it does. I'll be very surprised. And Knows Too Much said, terrible plan. Pan-Arabic Islamic powers trying to prevent Israel from winning and leave the door open for more jihad in the future. I don't know if this involves Hamas not being in power and other people taking over. Like, what would you prefer? Endless just terror wars forever? Or just like completely wiping out populations? Like what? In other words, wouldn't you like to see them at least try? You've got but it didn't work in the past. You didn't have this situation in the past. You got everyone in the region all saying, okay, let's get this done. And a couple of terrorist groups saying no, or probably going to say no. So what do you want to say? Don't even try? Sounds kind of weird. Trump wants a Nobel Prize. That's true. Witkoff owned by Qatar. Millions of Israelis should not risk their security and future for another Hudaybiyah treaty. Shame. Yeah, knows too much. Yeah, it's getting old. If Hamas, what are you saying? If Hamas says, yes, we'll agree to turn over the hostages and we will no longer be in power and a coalition will be in charge of security, you're saying, no, just exterminate them. Dude, not interested in this right now. Enough of we're all doomed. All we can do is exterminate everyone who disagrees. It's not. Come on, man.
Mr. President, first I want to thank you for graciously hosting me once again in the White House. And second, I want to thank you for your friendship and for your leadership. From Jerusalem to Tehran, from the Golan Heights to Gaza, you've proven time and again what I've said many times. You are the great.
I thought he was going to say, from the river to the sea, you've been our greatest ally. Because you could tell he's about to say you've been our great ally or something like that.
Second, I want to thank you for your friendship and for your leadership. From Jerusalem to Tehran, from the Golan Heights to Gaza, you've proven time and again what I've said many times. You are the greatest friend that Israel has ever had in the White House. And Mr. President, you and I both know it's not even close. While you focus at home on making America great again, your leadership abroad is changing the world for the better, ending wars and advancing peace. I believe that today we're taking a critical step towards both ending the war in Gaza and setting the stage for dramatically advancing peace in the Middle East, and I think beyond the Middle East, in very important Muslim countries. I support your plan to end the war in Gaza, which achieves our war aims. It will bring back to Israel all our hostages, dismantle Hamas's military capabilities, end its political rule, and ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel. We would not have achieved this turning point without the courage and sacrifice of our incredibly brave soldiers. They fight like lions to defend the people of Israel, and they serve on the front line in the war between civilization and barbarism. Mr. President, when our two countries stand shoulder to shoulder, we achieve the impossible. Just a few months ago, in Operation Rising Lion and Operation Midnight Hammer, we struck a decisive blow against Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile program. Your bold decision to send those B-2s made the region safer and the world safer. Now, under your leadership, we're taking the next step to win the war and expand the peace. Your plan is consistent with the 5 principles my government set for the end of the war and the day after Hamas. Everybody asks, what is your plan for the day after Hamas? Here's our plan. Passed it in the cabinet. All our hostages, both those who are alive and those who died, all of them will return home immediately. Hamas will be disarmed. Gaza will be demilitarized. Israel will retain security responsibility, including a security perimeter for the foreseeable future. And lastly, Gaza will have a peaceful civilian administration that is run neither by Hamas nor by the Palestinian Authority.
Nice.
If Hamas agrees to your plan, Mr. President, the first step will be a modest withdrawal, followed by the release of all our hostages within 72 hours. The next step will be
Modest withdrawal. That means they're going to pull part way out and hostages returned. That would be, sounds like step 1 or phase 1.
establishment of an international body charged with fully disarming Hamas and demilitarizing Gaza. I appreciate your willingness to lead the body, Mr. President. I really appreciate it because you have a...
Well, I'm the only one who could do it. People asked, they asked everyone, who could pull this off, who could actually run this, and the only name they come up with was Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Sorry, backed it up a little.
charged with fully disarming Hamas and demilitarizing Gaza. I appreciate your willingness to lead the body, Mr. President. I really appreciate it because you have a lot of things to do, and this is important. And it reflects the confidence that this will give everyone, that things will be followed up on all the commitments made. The fact that you're taking this on, I think, helps a lot to make sure that everything flows in the direction that we want. Now, if this international body succeeds, we will have permanently ended the war. Israel will conduct further withdrawals linked to the extent of disarmament and demilitarization, but will remain in the security perimeter for the foreseeable future. I think we should understand that we're giving everybody a chance to have this done peacefully.
Yeah, daughter says, how will they demilitarize Gaza? That's the point of the leaders agreeing, right? That's depends on Hamas. That's why again, there could be some pressure on Hamas to agree to this that I don't know about, maybe enough nations. But yeah, Hamas has to be on board for this. So the leaders have to agree. Yes, we're going to return your hostages. You pull out some. You pull out. We return your hostages, and then comes the demilitarization phase. But yeah, they would have to be on board with this. That's why I would be seriously surprised if it actually happens.
Something that will achieve all our war objectives without any further bloodshed. But if Hamas rejects your plan, Mr. President, or if they supposedly accept it and then basically do everything to counter it, then Israel will finish the job.
There you have it.
By itself. This can be done the easy way, or it can be done the hard way.
So that's the takeaway, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the plan. You can accept it or you can reject it. If you accept it, then guess what? We've got our peace deal. If not, we're going to finish the job, and President Trump has already said this will be with his full backing, but it's going to end one way or another. Take your pick. Easy way or hard way.
But it will be done. We prefer the easy way, but it has to be done. All these goals must be achieved because we didn't fight this horrible fight, sacrifice the finest of our young men to have Hamas stay in Gaza and threaten us again and again and again with these horrific massacres. Mr. President, I was encouraged by your clear statement at the UN against the recognition of a Palestinian state. That would be an outcome that, after October 7th, would reward terrorism, undermine security, and endanger Israel's very existence. As for the Palestinian Authority, I appreciate your firm position that the PA could have no role whatsoever in Gaza without undergoing a radical and genuine transformation. In your 2020 peace plan, which you mentioned just now, you made clear what that transformation requires. It's not lip service. It's not checking a box. It's a fundamental, genuine, and enduring transformation. And that means ending pay to slay, changing the poisonous textbooks that teach hatred to Jews, to Palestinians.
See, now this is part of the long-term plan. You have to end the pay to slay, right? That's where they actually reward the families of terrorists. If your terrorist son goes and kills a bunch of people, well, then there's a system in place for paying the families. Or if he somehow carries out a terrorist attack and survives, then he'll get piles of money. They actually reward terrorism financially. And he says we have to end all the textbook stuff. In other words, you have to stop training the next generation to be a bunch of terrorists. So this is all part of like the long-term plan. Because, okay, so suppose you got a peace deal. If you keep raising these kids to be terrorists and keep rewarding terrorism, then it's a matter of time.
Palestinian children, stopping incitement in the media, ending lawfare against Israel at the ICC, the ICJ, recognizing the Jewish state, and many, many other reforms. It won't come as a surprise to you that the vast majority of Israelis have no faith that the PA Leopard will change its spots. But rather than wait for this miraculous transformation, your plan provides a practical and realistic path forward for Gaza in the coming years, in which Gaza will be administered neither by Hamas nor the Palestinian Authority, but by those committed to a genuine peace with Israel. I think this can be not only a new beginning for Gaza, I think it can be a new beginning for the entire region. Under your leadership, we can re-energize, well, I've got to contribute my own, we can re-energize the Abraham Accords. That's what it's called in the original.
He did it too. Look, Trump's smiling. So we all say Abraham Accords. Trump started going, well, they pronounce it Abraham Accords, Abraham, and Bibi's agreeing with him.
Abraham is fine. Abraham, however you want to call it. Under your leadership, Mr. President, we can re-energize the Abraham Accords that we forged 5 years ago. We can expand them to many more Arab and Muslim nations that choose moderation over extremism. I think there's an opportunity here. It's not going to be easy. It's tough going. But I think if we succeed, you're absolutely right. We're going to open possibilities that nobody even dreamed of. But I think we dream of them. As you've told me, Mr. President, and you've told the world many, many times, you said, remember October 7th. Remember October 7th. And we do. We will never forget the horrors of October 7th, and we will do whatever is necessary to make sure they don't happen again. Since October 7th, Israel's enemies have learned a hard truth. Those who attack us pay a heavy price, but those who partner with us advance progress and security for their peoples. President Trump just said it. It's also in the Bible. It says, those who will bless you will be blessed, and those who will curse you will be cursed. And that's actually what is happening. We want the blessings. I think we've done a lot in the past 2 years to end the curse. We're not finished, but we've done a lot. And we've done a lot together to end the curse. I want to thank your entire team for their efforts to get to this point. I especially want to thank Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner for their indefatigable work to bring Israel and Arab states in the region closer together. I am deeply grateful to both of them for their work. We had a phone call today just to make it clear. I said to the Prime Minister of Qatar, Israel was targeting terrorists, wasn't targeting Qatar. And of course, we regretted the loss of the Qatari citizen. It wasn't our target. And I very much appreciate President Trump's proposal to have a trilateral body, the United States, Israel, and Qatar, to work out respective grievances. There are quite a few. But if we could try to mitigate them or put it on a different footing, I think that'll be good for everyone. Above all the people, the fine team, and many helpers who've done this, I want to thank you, Mr. President. History has already shown that under your leadership, Israel and America can change the face of the Middle East. And today I'm hopeful that your plan to end the war in Gaza will do so again and do so soon. It will free our hostages, end Hamas's tyranny in Gaza, and enable a more secure and prosperous future for the peoples of our region. Thank you, Mr. President. May God bless America. May God bless Israel. May God bless the indispensable alliance between our countries. And may I add in Hebrew, G'mal Chatima Tova, may we all be inscribed in the book of life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bibi. So I think...
So Netanyahu's speech was, 10 to 12 minutes long? 10 to 12? For some reason, there's still 1 minute and 43 seconds. I don't know if that seems like too short to take questions. What's going on?
Well, we wait for these documents to be signed and get everybody in line. I think it maybe is not really appropriate to take questions. I'm meeting with, as you know, a couple of Democrats in a little while about the country, about keeping our country open. They're going to have to do some things because their ideas are not very good ones. They're very bad for our country. So we'll see how that works out. But this is something that was really historic today. This was something that was amazing. I think, Bibi, I mean, depending on you, I think while we're waiting for signatures and waiting for approvals from a lot of different countries that are involved in this, we probably shouldn't take questions? Or would you like to take a question or two from perhaps a friendly Israeli reporter, if there's such a thing?
That's a very, very tough proposition. But I would think, Mr. President, that I would go by your instinct that this is, we'll have enough time for questions. Let's settle the issue first, I think. No.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
All right, so that was the plan. I guess we'll. That was earlier today. I don't even know when exactly that was. Let's say a couple hours, few hours ago. Let's say a few hours ago. So clock is ticking. So maybe there are like 68 hours left. I don't know if Hamas has given any answer, but Hamas has been given, as of a few hours ago, Hamas was given 72 hours to get on board with the plan, or sounds like everyone is in agreement that Hamas will be ended in a different way. So I actually hope Hamas takes the deal and that this would just be, this part would be done. Stefan says, I hope they tackle the Islam brainwash in Gaza too. Yeah, I think you posted that before. Netanyahu mentioned that, hey, they need to stop teaching the next generation this stuff. But yeah, you have to. You absolutely have to. It has to be part of the requirement. Stop raising kids to be obsessed with jihad. Stop that. Stop that. BB said, turning point, you see? Yeah, I caught that too. This will be a turning point. That would have been a perfect spot. That would have been a perfect spot. This would have been a turning point, as Charlie Kirk would say. That would have been a perfect spot to say, mention Charlie Kirk. But no, Candace would have flipped out. How dare you? Want to take this moment in time to thank you for being a friend of the Jewish nation from a fellow Israeli. Yep, you guys have lots of friends. Have to say, I'm a friend of the Palestinians as well. Because guess what? I'm a friend enough to tell you the truth. You gotta stop with all this terrorist nonsense. You need to go ahead and reject the fake prophet who encouraged you to glorify terrorism and slaughtering Jews. You need to renounce all that stuff. I say that as a friend, Palestinians. Need to reject all the terrorism. Stop being so freaking evil. One of the most evil things you can possibly do is raise your kids, your little kids, to want to go out and die while slaughtering other people in the name of God. Get rid of all that stupid, idiotic nonsense. And let's just be done with this silly, sick, fake prophet. All right, everyone. We've been going for a while. That's all I wanted to get through. And if you tuned in late, I just said I wanted to watch what the plan was, wanted to watch the speeches. I saw that it was over 40 minutes long, and I was like, well, if I'm going to watch this, might as well just watch it with everyone else who didn't get to see it. And so that's the plan. I guess we'll have plenty of updates over the next couple days on whether Hamas is going to agree to this. I would hope they do. I would anticipate that they won't. And so if they don't, assuming they don't, looks like things are going to get dialed up. All right, so about 45 minutes from now, in about 45 minutes, I'll be live with AP and IP. That's Inspiring Philosophy and the Apostate Prophet over on the Inspiring Philosophy YouTube channel. And we'll be going through, as far as I know, what's his face? Nick Fuentes' appearance on the PBD podcast, where Nick said that Jews are more dangerous than Islam or Muslims. So I haven't seen that, but I'd be interested in seeing what his case is. I would anticipate that it's based on his weird delusions and so on. Yeah, if you say, okay, you've got 2 billion followers of this ideology, and even though you have peaceful followers there are plenty of peaceful Muslims who just want to live normal lives, you do have a prophet who calls for the violent subjugation of the entire world. How Nick Fuentes is going to say that a few million Jews are way more dangerous. Why? Because, well, if you think they control everything in the entire world, this is where the delusion comes in. If you think they control the entire world, then you can say it, right? You can have a far smaller number of people, but if they control absolutely everything, if they control the media, it's always weird that Jews control the media, and yet the media is constantly blasting away at Israel. And they control social media, even though I can't go on social media without hearing endless endless deranged conspiracy nonsense about Jews. Strange, because Jews control all that too. And they control the education system, even though look what's going on in college campuses. It's weird. It's weird. So apparently Jews control all this, and Jews are using all their power that they use to control everything, and they're using that to turn so many people against them. It's just weird. It's weird. I would have to say this. Matter of fact, I'll probably say this when we go live here in a little while. If your theory is that Jews control all this stuff and that Jews are just using all this to stir up hatred against Jews, why would you think Jews are a threat? It would seem like they're the opposite of tactical geniuses if they use all their power that they have to control everything to stir up hatred against themselves. That would seem to be people you don't need to worry about, right? Like, you don't need to worry about them. They use their power to rile people up against themselves. Anyway, I'll be interested in seeing what Nick Fuentes has to say here. But that'll be on Inspiring Philosophy in 40 minutes. 40 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, unless AP is habitually 10 minutes late again. So, catch you all then. And I'm sure we'll be doing a follow-up on this topic. Obviously, if Hamas agrees to it, we're going to want to discuss that, because that'll be good. And if Hamas doesn't agree to it, looks like that will begin the process of finishing the job that was started against Hamas. So, we'll see what happens. I'll catch y'all in a little while.